Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Usman. I am founder and CEO of RepairDesk. I started RepairDesk about 10 years ago. Today, the topic of our webinar is how to use RepairDesk's powerful reporting for KPI tracking. We will be going over how you can use RepairDesk reports to extract the data and make powerful decisions. Along with that, we'll also talk about best practices for checking in customers, and also we'll talk about how to use our integrations for part ordering. We got a very special guest with us, Jeff Baker, who has been using RepairDesk for almost 4 years. Before using RepairDesk, Jeff was with Repair Shopper for quite some time. And thank you so much, Jeff, for taking your time out. Really appreciate it. Along with Jeff, we have Shane Morland, who has been using RepairDesk for quite some time, I believe more than 6 years. And along with running a self-employed computer repair stores, he has some other businesses as well, where he has a vast experience of using different point of sale systems, and he also helps RepairDesk customers with the setup and ongoing issues they are facing with RepairDesk. So first of all, I would like to start with introduction of Jeff. Jeff, why don't you give a quick introduction about yourself, and tell us about a little about your journey and how you ended up doing cell phone and computer repairs.
Thank you. I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Started off out of my house just doing Apple-only repairs, and I did that for a couple of years. When COVID hit, business kind of exploded, and people were all of a sudden very accepting of a home-based business where they'd drop off their device in a secure box on my front porch and just accept that it would get fixed. And I texted them and communicated that way when it was ready, and I'd put it back in the box and they'd go and pick it up, and I could work in my pajamas all the time, and it was pretty awesome. But got busier and busier and busier. And then a local computer repair guy, just a single older guy who was running in our city here, I noticed his space was empty and the sign was off. So I went and peeked in, and he was gone. And it turns out he had some health issues and decided to retire. And so I grabbed that space and moved into it. And all of a sudden, all of his customers that were his for the last 20 years, they were showing up at the door now and expecting PC repair. And I was capable of doing it, I just chose not to because I was busy enough with Apple only. So once we moved into that retail spot, I opened up our services for all computers, and then just stuck with iPhones and iPads. And I had to quickly hire some staff because we got so busy. And we had to expand our retail space a year and a half later. And with more techs now, I've got 4 full-time staff, and we're drowning. And now we're officially offering other brands of phone repair and tablets. We'll do Samsung and Google. We try to stick to brand name, not off brands. Our city is about 75,000. And we're attached to, like, my suburb is 75,000. We're attached to Edmonton, which has more than 1 million in the greater area. And so we're pretty busy, and we have almost a monopoly in our suburb. We're one of very few that specialize in Apple products, so we get a lot of business from that. So it's been quite the journey over the last 4 years. And once I was looking at that retail space, Repair Shopper didn't have a great point of sale area. So I knew RepairDesk was going to be the key to that. So I switched over while I was still by myself working at a home. So I had the time to do it, and I'm glad I did. And I've been loving it ever since.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and love the ending. I love how Repair Shop wanted to bootstrap and grow organically. One interesting fact about Jeff Baker, which he didn't mention, was about 10 years ago, or maybe slightly less, he started his career selling point of sale system for another company. And that's why he has a lot of patience when he's dealing with different challenges with a POS system. But thank you so much for taking your time out. Now I would love if Shane, my good friend, can do a quick introduction about himself, Shane and I know each other for quite some time. I believe I talk to Shane more than my wife because every day I wake up, I'm replying to his messages, or if I wake up in the middle of the night, I have to reply to his messages. But Shane, yeah, would would be great if you can do a quick introduction by yourself as well.
Sure. Yeah, I kind of started out a little bit differently. I was already in repair. I had a shop that did TVs and computers, and then of course I also did a lot of audio, video, and cabling out in the field. And then one day somebody walked in with a 3G phone from a town an hour away, a much larger town, and we said, "Yeah, we'll fix it." And since that day, it kind of grown, and repair certainly took over what we do as far as audio and video. Then, that was probably in '08. And then, in the recent 3 or 4 years, we've added other retail types to the to-do list that aren't repair. So, I am operating about 3 different types of retail stores, and then I also have a security guard company. So I've kind of spread myself out pretty well doing different things. And then of course, a sales consultant for RepairDesk now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. So without further ado, let's dive into the topic for today. Since RepairDesk offers a lot of reports and some of our customers don't know which reports to use, Jeff, you're the host now, you can share your screen, but yeah, could you please tell us which reports do you use in RepairDesk and for what purpose, and how RepairDesk reporting module help you?
Let's see if this works. So I've got 3-4 reports that I use on a daily basis. And then, every once in a while I have to dive into the other ones depending on what I'm looking for. But every morning I'm probably a little more tedious than some other business owners, but I kind of micromanage my finances as much as possible. And I have a bunch of accounts, and the banks always laugh at me because I have so many sub accounts and besides my primary accounts. But what I like to do is I set aside every day, I run our reports, and I set aside a certain amount, a percentage for rent and payroll and other expenses and taxes and GST. And so I'm never in a pinch when it comes time to pay those things, because I have it all set aside, which is handy. So every morning I run the first thing I do is run this total amount by payment type, and you have to select the day before. And I'm not using integrated payments. We're with Moneris, which is a big company up here. I chose Moneris because when I was running my first business many years ago, I walked into the McDonald's in the parking lot across the street, and I looked at what they were using, and it was Moneris, so I've been using them ever since. So non-integrated is, good and bad. If there's ever a problem with the system, they're independent, which is good, but it allows staff to make mistakes. So I run this report every morning, and I compare what went into the bank account versus what we recorded in RepairDesk. So I can catch if they selected the wrong payment type. And it does happen, once or twice every couple weeks. So I just check this to make sure that they selected the right amounts for Visa and debit and MasterCard, and make sure that that's accurate. So I do that first. The next thing I do is check the trade-in report. This one I run, don't know if there's anything in here from the last couple days. For trade-ins, there we go. What I would do is we've fired up a consignment program. In my last business, it was an unrelated thing, but we would sell products on consignment for suppliers. And so I had hundreds of thousands of dollars of inventory that I didn't have to pay for until I sold it. It was an awesome setup. And so it's been on my to-do to set consignment up with this business for a long time, and I finally did it. And I haven't really pushed it a lot yet, but what it will allow us to do is take in devices, especially like high-end MacBooks or computers or phones that I don't want to fork over to buy, but we will offer these customers the chance to sell it through our store. If they're not in a hurry, then they can get a higher payout. Otherwise, we have a Reusely integration to run that process to pay them out immediately. It's just a much lower amount, of course, if I'm buying it. So this report shows me devices that have been sold or bought. I have another deal with another one of our vendors. We get phones from them. So I check this report to see if we've sold any of their phones. And if so, I send them the money for it the next morning. This report is going to be obsolete soon-ish. Well, I'm moving our inventory from the trade-in module into serialized inventory items so that they'll upload to the website. So eventually this report is going to be obsolete.
Okay.
So the next one.
Let's take a quick pause. Thank you so much. So the first report you use is to reconcile with your bank how much money you went into the bank, making sure you're doing daily reconciliation, because that's very important to make sure that employees are, not stealing money, or which is a strong word, but you have seen that happening in the industry, because you see all sort of posts on CPRST Group, and the trading report can be used. Let's say if you're buying used phones and you're working on them to refurbish them, to track how much cost was over there, and then you can see, okay, what the item was sold for, so you can use the trading report. Okay. Okay, so let's move over to the item-wise sales report. Yes. What do you use it for?
This report now is going to be the one that should cover pretty much everything, because the serialized inventory is going to show up in this report, so I'll have to keep an eye on it here. So this one, what I'm looking for primarily is I'm looking at services such as, see if we can find one here, repair services that should have parts attached. So retail items like, Amcentrix lightning cable, I'm not worried about. Gotta find some here. Expand this. Brush feed. Our problem right now at this very moment is we're the busiest we've ever been. And it doesn't seem to be slowing down. And so we've been so busy checking in tickets, we haven't had a lot of time to finish them. We primarily do computer repair and less phones. And the phones, we maybe get 1 or 2 a day, and otherwise we're getting like 5 to 10 computer repairs a day. But what I'm looking for in here is services that are happening that have missed applying the parts to a ticket.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems they're missing. It might have been updated with the category updates. But what I'm looking at is the cost of goods. So when there's a service in here like a screen repair and the cost of goods is 0, I know the tech missed putting the part onto that ticket. So that's all I'm doing is scanning for services and looking at the cost of goods to check to make sure that the cost that's on that ticket makes sense for whatever it is, whatever kind of work we did. And if it doesn't make sense or it's at 0, then I know to go into that ticket and double check that they consumed the parts properly. And then the other thing I'll use is for device sales. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's very important as well, because if you want to really know how much your COG is, how much is your profit, you need to add that to the against every ticket. Because what I've seen is repair shop owners, what they do is they will check in a device, but they'll not add a part. And so let's say if a warranty repair comes in and you haven't associated a part, you don't know which where did you acquired that device from. So we have one question already, and if you don't mind, perhaps we can also ask this from Jeff. Jeff, is that profit first mentality how you have set up your accounts? James has asked this question.
Yeah, let me look at the next report here because that will show us.
Okay.
What I
nice.
do.
Okay.
The next thing I do is go into the sales summary report. So this shows us, your repairs, unlocking we don't do versus products, which is like retail products. And then your total sales, your cost of goods, your profit, and taxes. So the first thing I do is copy the taxes that we collected and I transfer that over into the tax account and set it aside and don't touch it. Then I take this net profit here and I put that into my calculator. So what I did is I calculated my expenses every month. We're, payroll is high, but really we're like 30 grand in expenses every month. And so in order to cover those expenses, we need to do a certain amount of profit, 30 grand, and a certain percentage of that goes to cover payroll, and a certain percentage of that goes to cover rent. And so I figured out those percentages, and so every day I copy this profit, I calculate it, I times it by the percentage that needs to go into payroll and the percentage that needs to go into the other expenses like our benefits and rent and so on, and I transfer it into those accounts. And I do that every morning. And it might be, a little tedious, but like I said, I like to micromanage it. And that way, like as of this morning, we're 5 days before the end of the month here, and there is already rent plus a couple $100 in excess sitting in that account. So I have no stress, right? I'm not worried about covering rent. Payroll is covered already. And so it just helps to alleviate that pressure. And the other thing we do to keep an eye on that is this little, I forget what this is called, this function up here, but this profit tracker, right? So I have our target set every month. We have it set to roll over. So if there's a slow day, it rolls over to the next day. If there's a busy day and we surpass it, it's covered too. And so this is super useful for tracking. They haven't done much today at the store, but that's our target. And as long as we cover this, then by the end of the month, we know all of those expenses are good and covered. That's my cat. Yeah, so that has been super useful for also keeping the staff aware of what we need to be doing. And so that's what that report is used for. It's just letting me calculate and then transfer into all my bank accounts.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So any reports you see on the employee side?
On the what side, sorry?
For employees, like for payroll tracking or anything?
Yeah, so the next one I do is just the employee payroll report. So this one I just run on payroll day, select my pay period, and then you can filter by the employee, hit run, and it grabs their hours here at the bottom, which I can just copy and paste into my payroll software. Yeah, so that one is useful. And sometimes they forget to check out. But otherwise, the built-in time tracker is, again, super useful. They say not to, don't put all your eggs in one basket, but it sure is awfully convenient to have a lot of eggs in the RepairDesk basket, right? You don't have to use... I did try, I had some separate software for scheduling and payroll tracking, or like clock in and clock out. And, $20 a month here and $40 a month there was just a waste. So now I just have set schedules in our Google Calendar and they just clock in and out in RepairDesk, and it's very convenient.
Yeah, and we don't charge extra for that. And but I'm so happy that it's working well for you. So Let's say an employee comes in every day, they have their unique pin which they can use to clock in, and then if they want to start a break or end a break, they can use that, right?
Yeah.
And do you use let's talk about your ordering process, what reports you look at, how do you use integrated parts ordering, all the good stuff, which a lot of our customers would love to know.
Okay. So there is the low stock report. Now that's under, I don't know if that's in the other reports. Probably not. Oh, it is. Oh, okay. So it's under inventory reports, but I just go to it from the inventory drop down here. So low stock report. This one, I use this every day as well. By criteria, I go to supplier. Mobile Centrics Canada is our primary supplier for parts. And so you just select your supplier and run report. And so in your inventory, if you're not using this already, you set up your stock ordering and reorder levels. So that means at what point do you want it to show up in this report? Some things I have at 1, some things I have at 0. And the reorder level is how many do you want to order at that point? Or how many do you want it to bring you up to in inventory? So for this one, my stock ordering is at 0 and I have 0 on hand. And my reorder level is 1. So that means it's going to order 1 when I add it to a PO. And that one is already on a PO right now. I ordered that yesterday. If it's at, here's a bigger number. So this one reorder is at 4. The stock ordering is at 3. So we go through a lot of these, you know, an iPad 6 digitizer. So I have it at kind of weird numbers, but whenever we sell 1, I have it set to trigger so that I'll remember to reorder it. And you can see we actually got down to 2, and I have 2 on order that should be arriving today when the FedEx guy shows up. So this is super handy. Mobile Centrics delivers overnight here. I know in the US, a lot of people, we see them complaining about that, but our FedEx guy is fantastic. He always delivers, and he usually brings it to us first thing in the morning. So it's very rare that we don't get an overnight order. So I generally just do a restock every day or every couple of days for Mobile Centrics. Rather than doing like one giant order at the end of the week. I might waste a decent amount of money on the $20 shipping charge, but I just find this easier to keep on top of rather than waiting till the end of the week and doing a bigger order just to save 20 or 40 bucks. So once this is run, there's also a criteria for hiding 0 required. So this first item here, proximity sensor for an iPhone SE, we've got 0 on hand, but there is one already on a PO. So the required quantity shows here as 0. I don't actually need to order any because it's already coming. If you want to hide those, there's just this exclude 0 required quantity at the bottom here you can check off and then run that. And so here's the things that I still need to order because we've used these up since I did the order yesterday. So at that point, you can check off everything you want. Add to purchase order. Select your supplier and confirm. All right, so it's telling me, okay, the 4 items are going to be added to my PO, and then you proceed. All right, so I have the Mobile Centrics integration, which is, again, another nice thing because it shows me right away, Mobile Centrics has that in stock, or it doesn't. You get a pop-up warning if it doesn't. If Mobile Centrics has it on pre-order, I'm sure you guys, if you use Mobile Centrics, you know about that. They let you pre-order items that are, maybe that's a Canada only thing, because they send inventory up from the American warehouse to Canada. And when it's in transit, it's set up for pre-order on the Canadian website. So I can buy it and it goes into back order status, and then they ship it to me with the next order once it arrives. So that's just something to note, is when something is set to pre-order in Mobile Centrics, it still lets you continue this, but it'll show you as 0 in stock. If something is completely unavailable, it will tell you, it'll give you an error message that it's not available and it won't let you order it. So then you just have to remove it from this PO here. So You hit save. It's created this, and now there's this big old checkout with mobile centrics button. So you click that. Okay, so here's a good example. So that SKU can't be added to the shopping cart. I swear it said they had 2, but it's interesting. I think this item is hidden from their website for some reason. There's some sort of problem. So I hit the checkout with mobile centrics. It brings me to the site. You have to make sure you're logged in first. Okay, so now I'm logged in, and boom, it's put those items into my cart automatically. If we go and look at that iPhone 6S, we can see what's happening with that black screen. And yeah, that's right. So in the integration, it was showing that they had 2 in stock, but they have it hidden entirely from the front end. So I'm thinking it's either missing or they're going to discontinue it or something soon because, you know, it's an older device. So I haven't asked them about that yet. But that built-in ordering from here is super nice because then I can just do all my reordering from within RepairDesk, and it pops it over into mobile centric, so I don't have to individually go and find all these products. And so once I check out there, then I come back here and you can add your payment, you can change your PO status. What I've been doing lately, which has been very useful, is I pop the order number into my internal notes here. I put in the tracking, like who it's tracking with, and then the tracking number. And then you can also set your delivery date. And this has been helpful because then if a customer is waiting for a part, the staff can go into the ticket for the customer that's calling. They can see the part that's been ordered. They can click the PO and they'll see this information. So they can say, oh yes, your special order part is coming in and it looks like the delivery is tomorrow. Essentially everything I do in RepairDesk, and we're using Notion, which is I don't know what to call it. It's a piece of software that lets you record everything. I'm recording all these processes and policies and procedures and all that in there. My goal is that I don't have to be at the store like today. And so far, so good. Anytime anybody has a question for me, when they do need to call me, if it's not a one-off scenario, I put it into Notion. And that way, eventually, one day, if I ever choose to retire or want to go on a vacation or something, or just hang out at home, work on my renovations, I can do that. And this year, it's been pretty awesome. It's working quite well. So little things like this is having all the information recorded in the PO. Internal notes is useful. If this purchase order was created from a ticket for a specific item, then up here at the top, it will show you that it is for a special order. Here's a good example. We'll go into this PO. So up here, it shows us that this is for a ticket. It's a special order. There's the customer information. You can click on that link there, and it brings you into the ticket. And here's a preview of the new ticket interface, if anybody hasn't seen that yet. So that's that. So that's what I use the low stock report for. I have all my regularly stocked items, from repair parts to retail items that we're selling in the front store. They're all set up with stock warning and reorder level so that I can use this report to keep on top of keeping inventory in stock. And I think that's that.
No, this is super helpful. Thank you so much. Shane, would you like to add anything to this process where how do you use low stock report or any report you feel you use which Jeff hasn't covered?
Well, it's kind of cool watching Jeff. I mean, we're pretty much in line and doing the same things. You know, the low stock report is what landed me on RepairDesk, I suppose 6 years ago. It's a super time saver. Takes a lot of hassles, all the hassles out of ordering. but no, watching Jeff, I mean, we're really in line in what we do. It's pretty amazing.
Okay. One of the report I really like is the sales by item type report, where it shows you a breakdown of how much you, let's say, if you want to see how many lightning cables you sold today or yesterday, and you can go over there, select the, you can select type as products, and then you can select criteria, and it shows you a breakdown of it. So I would strongly recommend all repair shop owner using RepairDesk use this report, because it gives you a lot of good piece of information. And also, if you want to see um, which supplier is sending you bad parts, you can also go to tickets item report to see consumed parts and which items were RMA. So that report is really helpful.
That's right. I should
Question for you.
probably use this more. I know of it, but I haven't really used it a lot. But yeah, this would be super useful for determining what kind of reorder quantities you should use, right? So if we pin it down by this month, we've just gone through 13 of those cables. Those cables in particular, I keep them at 10 and 20. So I reorder 20 at a time as soon as we get down to 10. Because those are the ones we give away when we sell iPhones and iPads. And they're just the most basic cable that we sell a lot of. So that one we keep higher. But yeah, this is a useful report for managing that. But I don't go into it a lot. One day.
Okay, one day. So Jeff, we talked about how you use RepairDesk to extract reports. We talked about how you use RepairDesk to order parts from mobile centrics and other vendors. So thank you so much for sharing all the useful information. Let's talk about how you do special part ordering with RepairDesk.
Let's see. I wonder if perhaps maybe we can switch it around a bit. If we can show the ticket process, I can create a ticket.
Let's do that.
And then we can order a part from that ticket.
Okay. Yeah, let's.
Okay. So I'm just going to take a second here and find my photos I took of my check-in area. So that they can see how we have it set up. I'm trying to export these so I can get them on the screen. And I have a video.
A video would be nice.
I have a video. Sorry, I should have done this beforehand. Okay. Gonna work. You share. Unsupported format. Okay, hold on.
By the way, I love your check-in counter where you have a big TV screen on the back end showing our ticket counter display. I don't know, a lot of people use that or not, but yeah.
Yeah, we do really like that, especially by how busy we are and with the rush fees that we charge. It helps us demonstrate to the customer that, hey, this is how many jobs we've got open right now. If you want it done quickly, we need to put it under a priority queue. Is that working, the video portion of the share?
Yeah, we can see the video. Perhaps if you can play the press the play button.
Action.
Okay. Is that working?
As part of our check-in process, we have these webcams on stands set up at our front counter. So we put the device underneath that, and so after all the information is filled in there, we capture the image through the button. So it loads the webcam. There we go. So we put the device underneath there and aim it, and then you can capture the image. And we get one of, every angle. Hit save there. And then we get the front, the back, any damage. These webcams that we're using are Targus 1080p autofocus. That makes it a little bit easier compared to the ones that don't autofocus. And then after that, the images are attached inside the ticket.
Okay, so that's that. Okay, we're back in the ticket here.
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing we do, have you shopped with us before? They'll say yes or no. We usually just search by phone number. Got myself in here as a customer. So we add that. So we've got everything categorized by computers, phones, iPad, tablet, tech support. We offer in-store or on-site or remote support, and then everything else. If we go into Mac and PC, we just have Windows PC rather than having every manufacturer. For Apple, I have all the individual Mac devices in. For Windows, we just put it under a generic desktop or laptop. What seems to be the problem? If it's something obvious, we can choose what it is, like a screen replacement. I have it under $0 because we get an estimate for each individual one. And otherwise, most things get checked in under a diagnostic. I make use of the pop-up messages. So diagnostic fee is non-refundable, but applies towards further work. So what we tell the customer at that point is, we're going to check it in under a diagnostic. We'll find out what the problem is. We will contact you with an estimate. And if you choose to proceed with the work, then this diagnostic fee is just applied towards whatever work we end up doing. If they decline, then we keep the diagnostic fee to cover our time. 79 bucks, it's Canadian, so that's maybe 50 some American. I know it's higher than some places charge, but it sure helps to weed out the tire kickers. Before we were doing this, I was constantly chasing down customers to come pick up their devices. A lot of the times they would abandon them. They just decided maybe they went and bought a new one instead rather than pick this one up. So we were stuck with this repaired iPhone locked to somebody's account and nothing we could do with it. So now we charge a diagnostic on every single job. And if they don't want to pay it, then they don't play and we don't waste our time, and highly recommend doing this. It's been fantastic. It's cut down abandoned devices by almost 100%. When the customer's invested in the repair, they will come pick it up. And if they don't, then it's no big deal because we got paid for the little amount of time that we did. So that works out. Okay, so then you hit next. So here is where we need to put in all the information. I've got a few custom fields in here that we use. So we put in the serial number. We put in the passcode of the device. Due date and time we're not using, again, because we're so busy. it's impossible to put a specific time on it. What we do use this field for is when we are doing on-site or remote or one-on-one tech support, which means they come to the store and they sit down at a table with a tech, and we save that for educational purposes, not for fixing problems, but like showing them how to reset a password or showing them how to do something. So we do a lot of that because we have a lot of seniors in our town. We're kind of a retirement community almost. So then we put in our diagnostic note. And sorry, putting in the due date and time in here allows us to set the date and the time, say 10 a.m. And as part of my integrations, I'm using Zapier, or Zapier, however you want to call it. It will grab this information and put it into the Google Calendar. So that's what we use that field for occasionally. So in the diagnostic notes, we put in whatever the issue is. I have the policy for how they should be putting in diagnostic notes in our Notion. Not worky is a terrible, terrible diagnostic note. So I have them with the expectation that someone else who's not here at the time of check-in will be able to read these notes and understand very clearly what is happening and what they need to figure out. So we'll fill in customer tried to turn on laptop this morning and there is no response from the power button. The charging indicator does light up, but it will not turn on, no post. Because a lot of the times anybody does computer repair, when a customer says it's not turning on, that could mean so many different things. And it could mean that the system is posting, but it's just not like logging into the desktop, or sometimes it means they can't get their password in and they say it's not turning on. But so we try to have as many clear details in there as possible. Internal notes you can do, and that won't show up in the customer information that they see. Diagnostic notes the customer sees in their receipts and their emails and all that. So anything that you don't want them to see, you can put it in here. Probably user error, right? Something like that. Additional items I have checked as mandatory. We've done this and we fill in this information because often they would leave a case or a charger, and before we had this set to mandatory, the customer would leave their charger with us and it wouldn't be recorded anywhere and we'd forget to give it back to them. So that was a big problem. So this allows us to check off that, yes, they've included their charger, they included a case or something. And in general, we try to not take anything extra besides the charger. If it's in a case or they want to give us a mouse or a box with their 20-year collection of external hard drives and all that, we decline and just take what we need. And otherwise, if there's nothing included, then you can check off none. And by forcing this, it forces the employees to actually record what they're taking in. And there's a second step that helps with that. So then we go up to the top here. So we are charging deposits. Again, that is highly, highly recommended. It cuts down severely on the tire kickers and abandoned products because you're forcing the customer to invest in the repair. Our deposit is set to the same as our diagnostic, so we take $79 with every job. The next nice new feature is marking as a rush. We were doing rush jobs before this function was available, and I was using Zapier to it would grab any new ticket that was created with rush as an item, and it would change the status automatically to a rush job, and we had a filter for that. So that's how I made it work before, but now when you mark it as a rush here in RepairDesk, it pins it to the top automatically, which is even better. Our default status is pending needs diagnostic. So what that means is every job that comes in, we do a diagnostic on it. I've got a template in Notion that the techs copy and paste. And what they do is record, we'll look it up here super quick. What we do is record as much information as possible before the tech opens the device. We want to be armed with as much knowledge as possible. So the diagnostics for a PC is number one, was the initial issue replicated? Next, new issues that they've noted. Then they record the CPU and the RAM, because we like to know, going back, is this thing ancient or is it pretty new? Does it have only 4 gigs of RAM, or does it maybe need more? Could that be part of the problem? The drive type and the health, if it's an old hard drive and if it's dying. The capacity and how much they're using. That's super useful because on these, ancient computers that are probably due for replacement, we like to be armed with the knowledge of how much space they're using. So if we're going to try and sell them on a newer replacement, we know how much space they need. The next is battery health. They check the battery health if it's a laptop. The ports and the inputs. So we test every single port. The webcam, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, the keyboard and mouse. And there's online keyboard testers. You just open up the web page and then you just run your fingers across the keyboard and it tells you if it's detected the right input. Internal cleanliness, if they do open it, fan operation, temperature check, and then evidence of liquid damage. And so at the end of that diagnostic, there is a notes/estimated work required and an estimated cost if they get that far. Otherwise, I just have them fill out all that information, and then they change the status into ready to start. So then a tech can, or a different tech, or sometimes it's the same one, but whoever's available will grab that job when it's ready to start, and they are already armed with all the information about what's happening and the specs of the device and so on. So that is super useful. Saves time, and saves kind of saves our butt sometimes, because we have this report before we open something that, yes, all those ports were working and the webcam was working. And so once the job is done, if they run, we do a similar test, a quality control test, where they check all the same things. And if something's not working now, we know something happened. The tech forgot to plug in the speakers, which was super common, stuff like that. So that process, takes longer, but it saves our butt, and it prevents the customers from bringing the device back because something got missed. So that's been very useful. Okay, so that's the default status. Another thing I've started using, thanks to the new ticket interface, it put the device physical location in a prominent location in the ticket. Because again, because of how busy we are, in the back of the shop, we've got 4 bays, 4 different areas where the techs are working on stuff, and a whole bunch of shelves and areas. And if somebody was sick or away, or he was doing an on-site and we're trying to find this unit, we'd be like, oh, where is it? What section is it in? Who's working on it? And so on. So I've marked, right now it's all in masking tape and Sharpie, but we've marked physical locations. So green bins are when we've got something, it's in pieces and we put it in a bin and it gets tucked up high. Otherwise, A is my area, and there's 3 sections marked. B is the next tech's area, and it's got sections marked. There's a lower area for desktops and so on. So we can mark it where it is. And to begin, it's in the pending queue. So we've got a big shelf with a bunch of yellow bins of things that are pending. So we mark that's where it's sitting right now. So when a tech goes to grab it and do the diagnostic, they know exactly where it is. The next thing is, additional notes you can add. This is a custom field. These are custom fields I've added, again, to save time and save our butts. So backup service. Does the customer have a backup of their data? We check that with them. I have it in a few different places. It's in this pre-repair checklist too, but redundancy is good. So do they have a backup? And if not, are they going to pay us to do it? And if not, we put here that they've declined it. If their hard drive craters in the middle of our repair, we warned them, they declined, and we have it in writing. Next, we put the color of the unit. And this here is a reminder just to them. It's required. It's just a reminder for them to take the photos. So top, bottom, and if there's any damage, and then the model number. So we put the serial number here and the model number down here. It's useful for a lot of different units. Apple, of course, you can look up exactly what it is by the serial number, and then you can put the model number. I found quite a few Windows manufacturers will let you do that too. Dell for sure, Lenovo, I think Acer as well. You can pop the serial number into their support website, and it will bring back the specs of that unit. So otherwise, we put in the model number, Dell Latitude something 3420. So we put that in there so we know what it is. And up here, we would put the serial number or the service tag if it's a Dell. Okay, so we still click confirm. There's a few more things we have to fill in. Up here, we have to do the images. So this is where we would hit capture with webcam, and it would fire up the webcam. We put the device on the counter like we saw in that video. I have it up on a stand. And so we take a picture of the back, of the front. If it's a laptop, we'll usually do like top, bottom, and then with it open, so you can see if it's missing any keys or if there's damage to the screen, something like that. On desktops, we take a picture of the front and the back. That's very useful because we can see what kind of ports it has. And if there's anything plugged in, like if they forgot their keyboard dongle or a Wi-Fi dongle or something plugged in the back, we have photographic evidence that, yes, it was plugged in when the unit was checked in. We actually had that issue yesterday, where one of my new guys took a picture of the case, but it was a really bad picture. It was a picture of the side, and it was mostly reflection because it was a glass case. And he forgot to take a picture of the back, and there were Wi-Fi antennas attached. When it was being worked on, the tech unplugged them and forgot to put them back in, and it went back to the customer. We do post-condition images as well. So once the repair is done, we take the same kind of pictures. And so we had the post-repair pictures of this desktop with no antennas plugged in. And if we had had the proper precondition images that showed them, then we would have caught that. So doing that process of physical evidence of what is included is fantastic. When we do take in a laptop with a charger or an external hard drive, we have them checked off here. But up here, we have photographic evidence. We take a picture of the laptop with its charger and the external hard drive on top of it, so we can physically see what it looked like in case it gets lost or something, or if it gets separated from the device. So that is also a crucial part of our check-in process, is getting this photo evidence. And then the next step is pre-repair checklist. So you can have this set up for every different category. I have it customized. So we ask them, do they have a data backup? They'll say yes or no. This customer will say is yes. If they say no, then we'll say that yes, they declined, or it's not possible because of one reason or another. The device isn't accessible. So we record this here. So again, if there's an issue with their data, we have proof that they declined paying us for a backup. Then we look at the display. Does it have any scratches or damage? Is there scratches, bends, or damage on the chassis? Does it boot into the operating system? Say no for this one. If it is a data migration, for example, if they bought a replacement device from us, we ask them, what would you like done with your old unit, if they want to recycle it. And you don't have to do all of these. You just need one thing selected in order to carry on past this window. You don't have to actually select something if it is not relevant. The other thing we check with our customers is, would they like us to install our remote access software so we can do remote support down the road or after the fact. So that's very useful as well. If we do a repair or maybe a data migration to a separate unit and they need help installing some program after the fact, we can just dial in and connect to them if we've already installed AnyDesk here. Okay, so once we hit save on that checklist, now we've filled in all the required information, so we can hit confirm. Okay, so that pops it over now onto the left side here. So we have our Windows Laptop Diagnostic for $79. It shows the deposit of $79. and you can change this. Sometimes the customer wants to give you $100 bill or something, so you can change that amount. And then we go to checkout. And so I haven't played with this a lot. I just added those cables that we give out with iPads and iPhones, but this is the little pop-up sales suggestions, which is, once I get to it, should be nice and handy. If you're selling an iPhone 12, for example, then all the cases and accessories for iPhone 12 will pop up here, and you can push your sales into to include or upsell those accessories with it. So then you go to the checkout. Got to put in your PIN here. I have this enabled when we leave notes and tickets, and when you're doing a sale or a ticket here, I force us to put in your PIN. It just helps with recording who is actually creating that. So if you have a question about it later, you can go and see whoever it was that created that ticket or invoice. And then you select your payment method. This is with non-integrated payments. This is where the trouble comes in. If they don't read it properly or they click the wrong one, that's when I have to run that report in the morning to make sure that the right method was selected. But I'll just leave it on cash and we'll hit full payment. So at this point, our terms and conditions are popping up on the customer-facing screen. Got a picture of that.
Looks like Jeff came all prepared.
Yeah, let me share the selection again here.
Jeff, if you don't mind me asking, how much time does it take you to check in a computer?
So it's definitely time consuming. I know there are shops that would hate this because we often, it's probably a good 5 to 15 minute process depending on the customer. The seniors are always a little bit slower, and also depending on the device type is often a little bit slower. But what's you gave me a good expression the other day about slow is smooth.
Smooth is fast.
That's right. And I do have to remind the tech, sometimes they get a little stressed out if there's starting to be a lineup, but we are a destination, and so are you. They are in our shops because they have a problem with a device they're depending on. If that customer gets impatient and leaves, after waiting for 5 or 10 minutes, you didn't necessarily want them as a customer to begin with. That very rarely happens for us, and sometimes we have a lineup of 5 or 6 people. Our reputation precedes us if they're not an existing customer and they know it's worth waiting for because we're going to do the job right. So it definitely is time consuming to do it properly, but again, it's all, like every single one of these steps we've built because we learned a lesson by taking shortcuts and it bit us. So yeah, they're all here to protect the business, to protect our reputation, and to protect the customer in the fact that when they get their device back, they don't have to come back to us because we fixed it properly the first time by recording all the proper information and not missing anything.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna get this
here. One last comment on this is it's very important to build repeatable process in your business, just like you're doing it on Notion, where you're going and recording all this. I believe if someone wants to scale their business, that's the best way to go about it. Master the recipe on one stir and make sure you're making the most amount of money in your one stir before you go and start your second stir, because that's one of the mistakes I've seen people make. Obviously it works for them where they're now all of a sudden they have 2 or 5 stores, but they don't know what which store is performing well and which store is not performing well. So you need to work on the foundation first, do it right if you want to scale your business. But okay, so I just wanted to add over there. Yes, I love it already, but yeah, please.
That is of course my eventual goal is to open another location. That would be so nice, but only once I've perfected all my processes, because then we can just copy and paste. And the well-oiled machine will keep on running ×2, which will be nice. That's Sean. He's young, but not that young, but we get asked a lot, oh, are you Jeff's son? And, you know, it's offensive to both of us because he's not that young and I'm not that old. But we do look pretty similar, and he does look a lot like an older version of my oldest kid. So that's kind of funny. But this is our front counter. You can see off to the left side there, we have another till. So I've got 2 tills, 2 check-ins. You can see each one has a webcam. They both are connected to this PC. Can you see my cursor, what I'm pointing at?
Yeah.
So this is a Dell all-in-one strapped to the wall there. It is tied into this big TV, which has our ticket counter on it, which is a RepairDesk integration. The image on the left side there is something that you input into it. And so I need to update that, actually. I just realized that. Because we're offering more than just iPhone and iPod or iPad repair. But I have some of our services on there along with the Rush priority service fee. And on the right side there, it shows you the big list of, you know, overwhelming number of tickets that we have. And so when people come to the counter and we're checking in this, we ask them if they, you know, are in a hurry, or if you can afford to leave it with us for a longer amount of time. And we say our queue right now is sitting at about a week and a half to 2 weeks. Normally we're about like a week, and usually that's just an overestimation, and we usually get into it in 3 or 4 days. Right now we are like 2 weeks behind. It's been crazy busy. And so we show them that list and we point to the rush fee and we say, our queue right now is sitting at 2.5 weeks. Are you okay to wait that long, or would you like us to put it on a rush? We charge $59 plus tax for a rush fee on top of whatever service work we're doing, but then your job skips the queue and we work on it first. And I don't know if you noticed in the reports there, our rush fees are actually a pretty good source of income. In the beginning, when I first opened, we used to just, you know, make too many promises in a day that, you know what, you're in a hurry? Absolutely, yeah, I'll get yours done first. But you can only do that so many times in a day before you get overwhelmed and you drop the ball and people are upset. So then we started getting people saying, hey, I'll pay you extra to do mine first. And cha-ching. Yeah, we made that policy, and now those rush fees are quite profitable. And then the customers are happy. Those that want their job back quickly, they're happy to pay it. Those that don't will go somewhere else. And, you know, it sucks, but we're not concerned because we have enough work. Or they are happy to just let it sit in the queue, and we get to it as soon as we possibly can. And that's the thing that we do is we don't create a ticket for them and let them take it home, except in certain cases when we need to order parts and wait for them. That's the caveat, is you either pay for the rush and you get it done now, or we need your device on hand for whenever it reaches the top of the list. We need it here so that we can get started right away. And most people are okay with that. I'm sure a lot of markets are going to be different, but for ours, that works out. So behind the tills here attached to this PC, that PC has M360. If nobody's using M360, you absolutely should be. It's diagnostic software for iPhones. It works really great. We don't actually use it a lot for other brands, for Android phones, mostly just because we don't do that many of them. So I haven't really dug into using it with Androids. But for iOS, it is fantastic. You plug in your device, it automatically installs the app. You can set up a template to skip certain tests or whatever if you need to, but it tests every single function of the phone, from the screen to the charging to the battery health to the proximity sensor and the LiDAR sensor and everything else, everything, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So we run that again before every repair and after. And so we can catch right away if there's an issue with this device before we open it. And that helps avoid the, oh, it was working before I brought it to you. And that is a common problem I'm sure a lot of you run into. And sometimes that's still the case, like when there's drop damage to, you know, a sandwich board or an iPhone. And, you know, when you open it, all of a sudden your Bluetooth and Wi-Fi quit because you know, the board got stretched. But I have that in our terms and conditions on the customer-facing screen. Which reminds me, that's why I brought this up. So behind each iMac here, we have this iPad plugged in, and that's our customer-facing screen. So during the ticket check-in process, that screen pops up with our terms and conditions. And the terms and conditions go through things like their data backup, noting that, hey, when there's drop damage, it might be working now, but once we start opening it and flexing things, more problems could pop up. So we have that in there. I've got the terms of if they do abandon the device, we'll try and get a hold of them for 30 days, but after that, it gets recycled or sold, things like that. So we make them sign off on that. They read through it. They check off at the bottom. They then sign with their finger and submit it. And once the customer submits that, it goes through this order confirmation. It proceeds automatically, and then it automatically spits out the receipt and ticket label. I'm just going to have a look here and see what else we have for images. So this is from our side of the check-in counter. So we have the webcam. We have this tape here. This tape is what we use for rush jobs as a visual indicator. So when they pay for a rush, we put this bright red masking tape on the device and we put the ticket label on it. So it's a nice visual indicator to the tech when they're looking at a unit that, oh, this one is a rush. The yellow tape is what we use to tag any little accessories like a USB dongle or something. We put that tape on it so that we know it's a customer add-on, a customer plug or cord or dongle or whatever. So that's why those are there. Here is our ticket display. Can't really see it by the resolution there, but it shows you how many are pending, in progress, all the different statuses, and you can pick and choose these statuses, which ones show up here. And then it just shows you the big list, and we just show the first name. So it's not really revealing any customer information. But it's great because it shows the customers that, oh my gosh, they're busy, I will pay for that rush fee. And at the same time, if they do happen to be browsing it while they're waiting in line, maybe, they'll see a variety of services that we're providing. So I like that because then they're like, oh, I didn't know you did work on Windows laptops, or I didn't know you did work on Samsung phones. We've been offering unofficially phone repairs on other brands for probably about a year now, since I have a couple techs with experience in that. And I finally just got the website updated 2 weeks ago or something like that, to reflect that as well. So it's going to take a while still, but eventually our customers will start to learn that we do service other brands of phones and computers. We still get people that don't know we fix Windows computers or other things outside of Apple, even though we've been doing that, and that's been on the website for a couple years now. But I had
So
the
Jeff,
reputation for a long time. It was just Apple. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so your check-in process is amazing. I believe we are already about past that time. We have some questions. I believe we can take some of these questions. So yeah. So the first question from James is, do you use the employee productivity tracker or no?
I did a little bit. It was useful. The one time I actually really used it is when I had a tech that I didn't think was being productive. And
okay.
Yeah, and that tech is no longer with us. And it was quite useful because it showed, how many jobs they were getting through compared to the other techs. Otherwise, I don't use it. My guys are all older and tenured, and they work hard, and I can see it. So I personally don't use that. But in that one scenario, it was useful, and it did kind of open my eyes a little bit about the productivity of that one person.
And another question that is from James as well is, what are some ticket statuses you have created in RepairDesk that doesn't come in RepairDesk by default?
Oh, so many. Okay, so we're in our ticket now. I think most people have not seen the new ticket interface, right? It's a thing of beauty. It takes a little bit of learning curve just to see where everything is now, but I'm loving it. It's so nice. It frees up a lot of screen space. There's a lot less scrolling, and one big thing was show system messages. This is a thing now, so that all those updates of, you know, change customer, change ticket, blah blah blah, all those system messages you can now hide, and so the only notes you see down below are the important ones, like you know, the notes that the tech has put in. So the status here is pending, needs diagnostic. After they fill in the diagnostic template, they'll copy and paste it into the notes down here, fill in the information and save it, and then they'll change the status to ready to start. Another nice thing about this new ticket interface is they're separated by open versus closed statuses and on hold statuses. It's a little thing, but I just really liked that. So the next is ready to start. So now when the techs are going through their ticket listing, they'll get to filter for jobs that have been diagnosed already, and they can just grab it and start working on it. The other thing we've got contracted out if I ever send it out for like a board repair or something that we don't do in. Need to order parts is useful for when obviously it needs parts. I get a Slack notification once that is set to that status. And I have a filter in the ticket listing of all the jobs that either need my attention or need parts ordered. So I go through that filter and go into all those tickets, and I order whatever needs to be ordered, and I deal with them that way. Same day repairs for phones. We do phones, no matter how busy our queue is, we always do phones right away because they're, you know, somebody's primary communication device. So we always do phone repairs right away before everything else. Rush service status. Thanks to the new built-in function of pinned rush tickets, we don't use this one anymore. I haven't taken it out, but it's become obsolete. Thank you. I like that function a lot. Needs estimate is when they've checked it out and it's got an issue that doesn't exist in the system, and so we have to build a specific estimate for it. In Notion, I have rules set up for building estimates. So generally the technician can do their own estimate. This one is for, you know, an odd scenario where they need me to look into it, or they just need approval on an estimate that wasn't as part of that calculator. And generally the calculator is like, get the cost of the parts, add the certain margin, add shipping if it's involved, add labor, and then boom, there's your estimate price. Here's an important one, quality control. So when a job is done, the technician will put in their technical repair report. So that's another template I have set up in Notion. They copy and paste it in here, and basically it is, what did you do? Is there anything you couldn't do? Are there any other notes? And can't remember, that might be it. But that technical repair report shows up on, we have it included on the customer receipt, and it shows up on the front end. When a customer comes to pick up their device, we look up the ticket from the POS and we read the notes. And so from there, we see the location of the unit, like which pickup bin it's in, so they're not hunting for it. And we read off the notes to the customer, so that if there was anything to note, like, I don't know, an example is, oh, maybe the customer declined a data backup and they noticed that they had OneDrive turned off, for example. They would make a suggestion at that point when the customer's picking it up. Hey, we noticed that this is possible. It's free to use. If you'd like to book an appointment for us to teach you how to do that, we can do that now. things like that. And so the quality control status is something that someone, usually our front check-in guy, Sean, who we saw in that picture, he filters for quality control, grabs those units, and again, it's a copy and paste template that he puts in, and he does this quality control process on every single job. And what he does is, I'm going to pull it up here. We started doing this to save our butts from missing things. Like we'd finish a job, we'd push it through, we'd take the customer's money, we send them home. And then we get a phone call saying, hey, my speakers aren't working because the tech forgot to plug the speakers in. And so we started doing this process, and it constantly saves devices from going out with issues. So they check over, besides the actual function of the unit, what they also do is they mark in the location of where it's going. They mark down that they verified the diagnostic notes, because that's another thing that techs often miss is in the diagnostic notes, they read the major problem, but then they skip over by the way, please check this other thing. So the quality control person will make sure that they did check that other thing. Then they check that the parts were added. They check that the price is accurate. They check that the post-repair photos were added, and so on. And so once that quality control process is done, then they set it to ready. And the ready status or the repaired status is that guy. We have to set the post-repair conditions before it'll go, but then it tags the customer with a text and an email that it's ready to pick up. So it's a lot of work, but we have almost 600 5-star reviews. And I think a lot of it is due to these micromanaging processes that help us avoid, easily avoidable problems that would result in a 1-star review or, less than 5-star. So we try to make the process internally as smooth as possible. And the process that the customer gets is, drop it off once, pick it up once, and, it's not the right attitude, but hopefully we never see them again. We want them to never have to come back with that same problem. And if they do have problems with other devices, then of course they'll come to us. But that's what we joke with them is we hope we never see again because we solved your problem this time forever.
Very nice. So, we do something similar as well. We are not that successful as you are in terms of processes. There's still a lot that needs to improve. If we feel that there's a process that needs to be improved, or we come across a mistake made by one of our team members, we call it a self-inflicted wound, and we try to improve that. And so one of the challenge we were facing, some of our team members were slacking, and we created a self-inflicted wound list, and then during our weekly business review meeting, we'll go over it. And all of a sudden now the departments were very cautious. Okay, they will be discussing my fuck up. So yeah, so that's a process we created. I know we have passed the time, but one of the questions James asked was, what do you charge for the backup service when it's a diagnostic intake?
Okay, so we'll run through that quickly here. Put it back to in progress. There we go. So we've done the diagnostic. Let's say the computer's a piece of junk and they should replace it, but they're not ready to do that. So we are going to provide them with a hard drive, and we're going to do the data migration service for them. So in the issues here, right now it's checked on diagnostic. We simply change that to data migration and backup. We charge $149, flat rate. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes not so much. You can uncheck the diagnostic there, and what it's going to do is change the service. Okay, so now it's on data migration and backup. It's changed the service price here. And what this does is when we invoice this ticket, it takes the diagnostic amount that they've already paid off as a negative. So it'll be negative $79, and what they'll pay is the difference between the new service and the deposit that they paid. Attached parts here, if we're going to sell them a backup drive, I think I have them under external backup drive. I'll use this one. So you can add your part. That guy. Did that work? No. Oh, sorry. That should be an inventory item. That's another thing I forgot to add on there is that during the ticket check-in process, we have the rush fee, or it is under here. We charge it as a separate fee. So we add that to the cart, and it shows up here under inventory items. And this is where we'd also add that external backup drive. Throw that one in there. Okay, so now we've got those two parts in there, or one part and one service that we just has as a non-inventory part. If we're going to order a part for this ticket, we have time to show this super quick. What I'll do is add an item. If it's something in the system, you search for it here, but if it's a special order like an LCD or who knows what, then we add a special order part. We'll just call this LCD. We'll put in the cost from wherever it's coming from. I usually don't bother with the retail price. The supplier, we'll say Amazon. Do you want to create a purchase order? So we say yes. And then if you have an open purchase order for that vendor already, you can add it to it, but I like to keep them separate for special orders for tickets. Just keeps it from getting missed. So I create new purchase order, and then you hit save. And there she is. So now down at the bottom here in this new interface, you've got your different areas here, but here's your special part order. Here's the purchase order it's under. So you can click it, it'll open it in the window, and then you can update, your tracking information. You can say if it's ordered and so on and so forth. And there's the link to the special order information. When my receiver gets the part, they know where it's for. They'll receive it, and they'll put a note in the ticket. They'll set the status to needs technician attention. So right now it's waiting for parts because we've made a special order. When they receive that part, it sets it to in progress automatically. But we set it to needs technician attention, this purple status. And so that shows the tech that, hey, something is up. I better go and read this ticket. And they'll scroll down and see that the receiver received LCD placed with unit, ready to install. Right? So then they know, okay, that one is ready to go. I've probably got a bunch of other statuses in there, like needs my attention, need to call customer. Those are the most common that we use. But again, I have it all down to a slightly micromanaged process. So when we are looking at our tickets, I've got our filters here for needs, parts, or attention, right? These are all the ones that I need to order parts for or that need my attention for one reason or another. Quality control and call customer. These are the ones that are in QC process, so they need to be grabbed and run through that so that they can set it to ready. All these other ones are pending and need a diagnostic. There's a ton right now. And anything that they need to call the customer to get approval for an estimate or something like that, they'll be in that status as well. Follow-up are all old tickets that we're waiting on the customer for approval, or they said they need to think about what they want to do. So I go through this one every once in a while and start nagging people about what needs to get done. And then the working queue, this filter is for things when a tech is done what they're doing and they're ready to pick up a new job, they go into this working queue and they scroll to the bottom and grab the oldest one that they can.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is amazing. I would love to sit here and learn a bit more about your process, but I believe we need to do another webinar on learning more about how do you manage the repairs and how, I mean, since you have an online store as well and Zapier integration Slack, so we'll schedule a follow-up call for this. But this was extremely helpful. Let me see. We can take one last question. Where will this recording session be available? So yeah, we'll try to remove everything, Kyle, with regards to customers, and then we'll share the recording with you. So yeah, we'll do that. But again, thank you so much, Jeff. It was definitely a pleasure having you sharing all this cool piece of technology to all of our customers who joined us. And again, thank you for being a huge supporter of RepairDesk. I know whenever someone asks on CPRC which software to use, Jeff is probably one of the first customers to say, hey, use RepairDesk. And thank you for your support. And again, thank you everyone for joining the webinar. I hope this content was useful. If you have any questions regarding RepairDesk, please send us an email at support@repairdesk.co, or you also see a new button in the top menu which says contact support. Just go over there. One of our friendly live chat agent will be with you within 30 to 60 seconds, not minutes, 30 to 60 seconds, unlike other companies where you send an email and they get back to you in a couple of days. So again, that's all from our side. Thank you so much for joining in, and we will hopefully schedule another webinar with Jeff in next 3 to 4 weeks. Thank you so much and have a good day.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Yeah, there's way more